Hey guys, welcome to my channel. This is Dinesh Sheikh and today we're gonna continue with the second part of Epic Games Launcher UI. But before that, I hope all of you are doing well and fine. I urge everyone to eat well and stay safe. Now before we proceed, please make sure you press the like button and subscribe to my channel. In our previous video, we completed the window style and loading page with custom striped progress bar. In this video, we will design the sign-in page. And also I will show you how to extend the properties by using attached properties in the service login buttons. So without any ado, let's get started. First, let's add a border with minimum height 745 and minimum width 470. Background as search background brush. Horizontal and vertical alignment center. Now let's add a grid which will contain the logo, a text and the service login buttons. For logo, we will use the path element as always and set the data value as epic icon. I have dropped the link for icons.xml file in below description, so download it and include in your project. Then define it in app.xml. Set the width of path as 43 and margin as 0,50.3. Now let's add a style dictionary for icons, which we will call iconstyle.xml and define it in app.xml. Switching back to iconstyle.xml, let's add a common style of target type path for all the icons in application with following properties. Stretch as uniform, fill as icon active brush. Now again add a style for path and assign a key epic logo style to it. And set based on to static resource type path. Remove the fill setter and also we will add a setter for horizontal alignment to center in the common path style. Now coming back to epic logo style, set the vertical alignment to top and width as 43. Let's switch back and assign this style to our epic logo path and remove the width. So next step is to add the text block with text property and font family brutal type, font weight bold, font size 12, horizontal alignment center, vertical alignment top, margin 131 pixels from top, and foreground caption font brush. Change horizontal alignment to left and set 60 pixels margin from left. Okay, so next we will add a stack panel with 166 pixels margin from top, and this panel will contain our service login buttons. But before customizing our login button first, we will write the attached properties for our button. So add class named login service buttons. First we will inherit the button control properties, then add the dependency properties for the icon height and rest of the properties with type that are shown on top right of your screen. Let's switch back to sign-in page and add this extended login service button inside our stack panel. Now time to style our login buttons. So add a dictionary named button style and add a style of type login service button. Now set the regular properties for the login button. Now let's edit the template of our button. So add a setter for template and control template of target type login service button as value. So first add a border with border brush, background and border thickness, all with respective template binding. And set corner radius as 3. Now add a grid with 2 columns, first one for icon of width 85 and second for content presenter. Then we will add a border named icon background and background template binded to icon background. It's the dependency property we created earlier. Now corner radius is 3, 0, 3, which will be round from top left and bottom left to match the parent border's corner. Now inside a grid, add a path with field template binded to icon field and data template binded to icon. Now define this button style.xml in the app.xml. Also, we will add the setter for vertical alignment property as center in iconstyle.xml file. Now also set the height and width template binded to respective properties and copy the path and replace it with image. Replace field with source and set value as template binded to image icon. Name as image icon. Stretch as uniform. Horizontal alignment and vertical alignment as center. Now we will add a content presenter in grid column 1 with margin 19 pixels from left, horizontal alignment and vertical alignment template binded to respective content alignments. Lastly, let's add a control template.triggers. We will add the first trigger on source property of image icon. So if the value is null, then our image icon should be collapsed. Next, we will add a multi-trigger with 2 conditions. First condition is the isMouseOver property should be true. And second is mouse capture property should be false. Then if the conditions are met, the background of the icon should change to the icon background hover value. And button's background should change to sign in background mouse over brush. Now let's execute the program and see the control in action. Okay, as you can see the trigger is working fine. Now let's add the values to the button. So set the content, then icon height as 25, icon width as 22, icon as a static resource epic icon, icon background as a static resource epic backbrush, icon background hover as a static resource epic back hover brush, and icon fill as a static resource sign in icon back brush. Now let's execute and see the final control. So the control is ready. Now repeat this login button for different login services. And let's run the program again. Isn't it looking great? It is, right? So go ahead and press the like button. Also, if you haven't subscribed the channel yet, do it now. Okay, next we are going to add a text block having foreground as a static resource disabled font brush. Font family as brutal type. Font size 14, text alignment center, horizontal alignment center, margin 12 from top and bottom, and line height as 20. We're gonna add the hyperlinks inside this text block. So first let's add a run text for don't have an account, then hyperlink with foreground as a static resource caption font brush. Font weight as bold. Text decoration set to none to remove the underline on hover, and text as sign up. Now repeat the same steps for sign in hyperlink. Now let's add a click event on sign in later hyperlink. So copy the navigating code from loadingpage.xml.cs present in dispatcher tick event. Paste it here and change the page name from sign in page to preparing to launch store. Now add a new page and name it preparing to launch store. Now last thing that remains in sign in page is the settings button. So let's switch to sign in page and add a button. Set content as a static resource settings icon. Font size 14. Horizontal alignment left. Margin as 39 from left and 35 from bottom. Vertical content alignment bottom. And set the click event. Now open buttonsstyle.xml and create a new style for the icon buttons with key icon only button style. Add following properties: background as transparent, border thickness 0, cursor as hand, horizontal and vertical content alignment center, foreground as settings icon brush, and height and width binded to font size of the button. Now let's edit the template of the button. Add a control template of target type button. Then add a parent border inside the control template and template by the border brush, border thickness and background. Next add a path will fill property, template binded to foreground, data template binded to content, and height and width template binded to font size. And finally template bind the horizontal and vertical alignment to horizontal and vertical content alignment. That's it. We only want to show the icon, so we don't require content presenter here. Now switch back to sign in page and open button.style tag and add a new style based on icon only button style. The reason behind not using the style directly is that only the foreground of this setting button is going to turn blue on mouse over. So add a style to triggers and create new trigger for property is mouse over and value as true. Then set the foreground value as static resource settings icon hover brush. Now let's execute the program and see if code is working as expected or not. Perfect, the icon field is changing on mouse over, but as we clicked on button, it still not implemented error. Okay, that's because we didn't specify what should happen on button click. So let's set the navigation to settings page on settings button click. And after that we will create new page naming settingpage.xml. Now we will switch back to sign in page and change the vertical content alignment to vertical alignment. Now let's move ahead and design the preparing to launch store page. First, let's set the design height and width. Now add a grid named main grid of height 174 and width 378. Horizontal and vertical alignment to center. Now add a stack panel with orientation as vertical, which will be horizontally and vertically in center. Then add a path for Epic logo, set data as a static resource Epic icon, and width as 35, and margin 0,10. Now we will add a progress bar named progress bar. Set foreground as a static resource progress bar.progress. Height and width as 50. Margin 0,20. Visibility as collapsed by default. Horizontal alignment center is indeterminate to 2. And set style as circular progress bar. No, we are not going to design this circular progress bar in Epic Games Launcher UI video. Maybe I will do a separate video on it. But for now, I will share the link for the required converters and XML files in the description below. Now switch to the code behind of this page and add a dispatcher time to switch to the store page like we did before in loading page XML.cs. Add the dispatcher tick event and set the interval for 2 seconds since we want to show our progress bar after 2 seconds. Then start the timer. And now in the tick event we will set the main grid's height to 220 and set progress bar's visibility to visible. And we will add one more tick event to load the store page after 5 seconds. So stop the timer, add new interval of 5 seconds. Then start the timer. Now in tick 1 event, copy and paste the navigation code from loadingpage.xml.cs and change the sign in page to store page. Now let me set the breakpoints and show you the code flow. So when the preparing to launch store page is loaded, icon is seen first. Then after 2 seconds, grid height will increase, revealing the circular progress bar. Then timer will stop and second timer of 5 seconds will start. After 5 seconds, next page will be loaded. This error was expected as we haven't created the store page yet. So let's go ahead and add a new page naming it store page. Now let's delete these breakpoints. Then switch to the designer view and add a text block with horizontal alignment center. Margin as 0,10, font family butyl type, font weight bold, foreground as caption font brush, text alignment center, and finally set the text. And guys, with this we have completed the second part of Epic Games Launcher UI. In next and final part, I will be showing you how to design the side navigation menu with 2 content presenters hosting header and footer menu button, etc. So next video is going to be very interesting, so make sure you have subscribed to my channel and don't miss it. Till then, eat well and stay safe.